Shalom. Hope you can hear me. Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Makakudash. And I'm going to entitle this video Wars and Rumors of Wars and Other Topics. So let's see where the Spirit takes me. See on the screen there in front of you. Pelosi, Taiwan. You typed in and this popped up. Okay, this is all. And I'm going to go to news. Just go to click on news. Click on images. Go to news. So it top stories. This was as of an hour ago. CNN, Pelosi expected to visit Taiwan, and we all know the whole thing behind the scenes that the Chinese said many times, more than once, that they would attack if she flew in. That they would. And matter of fact, she's in the Far East right now. The Chinese said that they would shoot the plane out of the sky. So the response to that was the USS Reagan, or Ronald Reagan, which is a U.S. battleship, warship, and other, I guess, F-fighters and other ships. Basically, this could be the beginning of World War III, because if a war takes place, if they shoot down Pelosi out of the sky, she dies. She's number 3. When you deal with government, U.S. government, number 1 is the president, number 2 is the vice president, number 3 is Nancy Pelosi, which is the Speaker of the House. And then I believe you have Secretary of State, and then I believe second Secretary of Defense, which is a Jake. So if she's taken out, that's clearly a declaration of war. That's an act of war. So if she goes over there, and it's official that she's over there, and China doesn't do anything, it's going to make China look bad. If the U.S. representing the U.S. is Pelosi, of course, if she decides not to go over there, then it will make America look bad. It's almost like a game of chicken. So it's a matter of another day or two. So you should keep your eyes on the news. Now the scriptures say this. Let me read a couple more of these headlines. All right, it says Pelosi expected to visit Taiwan. Taiwanese and U.S. officials say. New York Times, a Pelosi trip to Taiwan would test China's appetite for confrontation. They're going to see if the Chinese are going to, attack. The Wall Street Journal, CNN, major news company, New York Times, major news company. Meanwhile, you got Jake trying to figure out whether they comedic or not. All them comedic dudes that constantly, consciousness community that constantly have debates over whether we're Hebrews or whether we're Africans, they're going to get caught up. They're all of them. The Most High is going to do away with all of them. The only ones that the Most High will deliver are the elect of Israel, not all Israel. So we're not trying to go to every street corner to try to wake up every Jake. You got a lot of these camps that go out into the hood, and there's gunshots in the background. Even IUIC, one camp went out there and actually got shot at. I mean, a couple of shots hit him, and one guy almost got. You can hear the bullet ricochet off of the back of one of those gas pumps. Then they went to a church And another church, one older Jake pulled out a 9mm on him, point blank range right up in their face. And some of the other churchgoers just started jumping on these guys. They had no business going to these churches, man. The Most High, you can't force this truth down somebody's throat. The Most High, is only interested in the elect of Israel. So they heard it. All right. You got to do what GMS does. Just go out there, teach the word, and prophesy, which is teaching the word. The Wall Street Journal, Pelosi, to go ahead with Taiwan visit. USnews.com, Pelosi to visit Taiwan on Tuesday. So it's Monday right now. Taiwan media, The Guardian. These are your major U.S. and around the world, papers, news companies. Nancy Pelosi begins Asia trip, but does not mention Taiwan. This was as of a day ago. So they said they're going to go ahead and do it. So let's see what's going to happen tomorrow. CNN, what you need to know about Pelosi's expected visit to Taiwan. The political Pelosi and China. This was as of 4 days ago. That's old news. The making of a progressive hawk. The Pelosi trip, this was as of 2 hours ago. A Pelosi trip to Taiwan will test China's appetite. See if they're going to jump. China's military will not sit idly by if Nancy Pelosi visits Taiwan. So the Chinese made the threat. So let's see if they keep their word. Pelosi to go ahead with Taiwan visit. Wall Street Journal. China warns it won't sit idly by. China says military won't sit idly by if Pelosi visits Taiwan. So they said that what they're going to do. If they don't do anything on them militarily, then it's going to make them look bad. So let's go to the news. This was as of 6 minutes ago. You got to keep your eyes on the news. One thing that CNN is good for is breaking news, especially international news. If there's a major, CNN kept up with that whole conflict between Russia and the Ukraine because they didn't know prior to February, I forget the exact date, whether they were going to actually attack or they were going to sit down at the negotiation table. But the Russians gave an ultimatum. He said, if you don't comply, we're going to come in with the troops. And that's what they did. So it says CNN Pelosi expected to visit Taiwan. Taiwanese and U.S. officials say. The Guardian, Nancy Pelosi begins Asia trip, but does not mention Taiwan. Pelosi starts Asian tour with speculation over Taiwan visit. That was 40 minutes ago. So all eyes are on this Nancy Pelosi, China, and Taiwan. The Wall Street Journal, Pelosi to go to, that was an hour ago, Taiwan visit. CBS News, as Pelosi starts Asia, this is 5 hours ago, which is really old news. As Pelosi starts Asia tour, China warns of military action if she visits Taiwan. Bloomberg, that's your financial news. Pelosi plans to visit Taiwan tomorrow. Liberty Times says NBC Pelosi confirms trip to Asia, but no mention of Taiwan. Let me give you a couple of precepts. Matthew 24, verse 6, Matthew 24, verse 6, Mark 13, verse 7, Luke 21, verse 9. It's talking about what's happening now. When you read Matthew 24, Luke, or Mark 13, Luke 21, when you read these in whole chapters, they speak about two major events. The first Roman-Jewish war, or 70 AD, that's a key word, key year, because the war was really, for the tensions were really from 66 into 70, into 74. I think Masada, that whole scenario with Masada, where the Israelites had committed to a suicide pact, they would kill themselves, and rather than the Romans killing them or enslaving them, they said they're going to all agree to commit suicide. And that was in 74, I believe it was 74, it was either 73 or 74. And that's a historic event. See, all these, situations with Israel, when you go into the Old Testament, when you go into the New Testament, the time 2,000 years ago, it's all written in secular history. So anybody that jumps up and says, well, Israel never existed as a people, as a nation, well, then they don't know history. Because all you got to do is go into the history, read the history on Alexander the Great, or the Greek, what we call him. You go extensively into that history, that's going to mention the Israelites, Antiochus, that wicked root. Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11 is just a prophecy of the six Syrian wars between the north, which was the Seleucid Empire and their sons, and the south, which is the Ptolemaic Empire, which Ptolemy, one of the Ptolemies, took control of Egypt. So you got these people that'll say, well, the Egyptians are actually white. They don't show you white pictures. Yeah, those were the Ptolemies. When the Ptolemies took over, they started saying that they were the Egyptians. They weren't the Egyptians. The original Romans were Japhetic people, dark people with woolly hair, curly to woolly hair. The Japhetic people, the people of the South Pacific. So it says, let me read these real quick. We all should be familiar with these three precepts. Matthew 24, verse 6, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. Before February, before Russia, declared war, all-out war against Ukraine, it was a rumor. That's why CNN, are they going to sit down at the bargaining table? Are they going to settle this thing diplomatically? So they wound up attacking. And then, so we're talking about February. I forget the exact date. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August. It's August 1st, 2022, year of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai turning up. This is month number 6 of that war. So Matthew's, but it says it says one thing, but the end is not yet, right? It says Matthew 24, verse 6, basic fundamental scriptures, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet, because a major prophecy has to take place, which we here at Great Millstone been talking about since we got on YouTube, even before YouTube, if you watch us on various cable shows, but definitely on YouTube, because that's when this thing really opened up. That's when the whole planet Earth, the world, in oikoumene sense, received it. Let the record reflect, or let the record show that we here at Great Millstone, from the beginning, spoke about the charagma, the MOTB. You had some other major camps that, bucked up against what we're saying, and we didn't flinch at all. We're standing strong on the fact that the whole planet Earth will be Karagmat, will be MOTB'd. And when that happens, when they set up the Karagma stations, and we keep talking about the Karagma, we're going to keep talking about, because that's a major, before Yahweh Shai came on the scene, and John the Baptist, when he came on the scene, that's why they said, is this guy Elijah? That's why they asked him if he's Elijah, because he fit the prophecy of Elijah coming back. Elijah came back as two people. I sound like a broken record. He came back as Abba. There's rumors out there that well, I actually saw videos of some of the top officers of the IUIC actually say that they believe that Bishop Nathaniel is Elijah. He is not Elijah. All right? He is not Elijah. He is definitely not Elijah. I'm not going to be surprised. Oh, man, I thought he is Elijah. No. He's not Elijah, okay? Elijah already came as Abba Bivens. Anyway, it says, and ye shall, and that's why we say that we have 100% truth. Scriptures speak about adding to the book and taking away from the book, and they're guilty of that. We make it our business. We make it our business to give you the whole truth. That's why we're constantly in the book. We're constantly checking things. You know, we question everything that the seven taught us, and found out that Cornelius was in fact the Israelite, not an Edomite. That the way the Passover week, we call it the Passover week, Ariel had it set up wrong. He kind of had it right, but he didn't fully. I had to go back and rethink that, go into it. And that's when we went to the school on 126th Street. All these guys, including Bishop Nate, they all pointed at me, oh, let him deal with the calendar. Let him deal with setting up a new calendar. Why did they do that? Because they were clueless. They couldn't put no calendar together. That's why Bishop Nathaniel's got a thing called a new moon as a full moon, which is clearly wrong. And there's no scriptures to back that up. And don't give me no damn, what is that? Psalms, I think it's Psalms 81:3. Oh, see, that means that, no. You guys are twisting the scriptures. Anyway, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. What's going on in Russia and the Ukraine? Rumors meaning what? There's not a war, but they might go to war. There was a rumor back in January that whether Russia was going to attack the Ukraine. So now there's a rumor of war, whether China is going to shoot down Pelosi's plane. It's a rumor of war. And it's going to look bad. It's going to look bad for China if they don't attack or they don't retaliate in some way. Remember, we get most of our products from China. So they can just totally, stop that train, man. These are tensions in the air. And then we see this as the fulfillment of prophecies, of some of the last few prophecies. But World War III, the War Armageddon, whatever you want to call it, is not going to happen unless and until the whole world is Karagmat. We can't even come out and say the word like we want to say it, because they'll cut it off. Because guess what? That's part of their plan. That's part of their New World Order plan. Their the Great Reset, which is nothing but the Great Reset. When you go to the history of China, they had a Great Reset. You know what the Great Reset was called? It was called the Great Leap Forward. And there was millions of people that were put to death because they didn't want to comply and change over the system. There were a lot of farmers. They were killing off the farmers. Look that up. The Great Leap Forward. That's their version of the Great Reset. Same thing. They took a page out of the Great Leap Forward. It says Mark 13 verse 7. And when ye hear wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. And when they set up these charagma stations, everything's going to move fast. They're not going to set up charagma stations and we're going to go for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Look look no more than maybe, that's my opinion, my spiritual opinion. Look no further than about 3 to 6 months when the destruction comes. Luke 21 verse 9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, that's what we're hearing, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is what? Not by and by. Give me a second here. Yeah, this is how this man is going to be taken down. This is exactly how this man is going to be taken down. Let me get Ezekiel 21 verse 27. I will overturn it, and it shall be no more until he come whose right it is, and I will give it him. And these are various times where these nations came up against us, and it was always the major deliverances came from the Most High, but the Most High set up a leader in Egypt. We were born as a nation inside of slavery, Egypt, Mizraim, and the Most High set up a leader to lead the sons of Israel, which was Moses. That's why they wanted to. That's why the Egyptians wanted to kill Moses, because they knew a leader was going to emerge. The same thing goes when Yahushua came on the scene. Herod the Great wanted him killed. That's why he put the order out with his men of war, his personal army, which if you go men of war, let's see if that men of war. Yeah, men of war, meaning warriors. First time it's mentioned almost 300 times. Numbers 31, verse 21. I didn't know it was going to be up this many times. Men of war, meaning armies. Like right here. First Chronicles 12, verse 8. And of the Gadites, there separated themselves unto David into the hold to the wilderness men, and Gadites are used to living in the wilderness. Men of might and men of war, fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains. Now, there was 3 tribes that were warriors: the tribe of Gad, the tribe of Reuben, and the tribe of Manasseh. And what they did in war was a thing called guerrilla, what they call today guerrilla warfare. They didn't march in like troops. They were all separate experts in war. So you're fighting one guy in front of you, and behind you, somebody in a tree shooting you in the back of the damn neck with an arrow, or jumping on you and slicing your throat. So Esau had to learn that guerrilla warfare was applied in a Vietnam conflict. So Esau had to learn that. They had to learn guerrilla warfare. Let me come over here. See right here, Luke 23, verse 11. And Herod, with his men of war, set him at naught and mocked him. This is when they crucified the Lord. So it wasn't just that we always say the Romans. No, it was the Romans and Herod's army. Herod had his own personal army and arrayed him with a gorgeous robe and sent him again to Pilate. So they would beat the hell out of him. It said his face was more marred, his visions was more marred than any other man. Okay, let me come back here. Where am I? Okay, so the Most High said he's gonna overturn it. He overturned the Egyptians. He's getting ready to overturn this place by fire. He overturned the world by water. So this has to happen. Then the charagma, then the destruction, then the missiles, then the war in heaven. Let me give you Jeremiah 50, verse 33. I'm going to read a couple of verses down. Jeremiah 50, verse 30. What did I say? 30, 33. We're going to start at 33rd verse. The whole chapter is good. This almost goes hand in hand with Revelation chapter 8. You know me, I like to go into whole chapters. I picked that up from High Priest Ariah. I'll start at the 32nd verse. I start at the 32nd verse. Jeremiah 50, verse 32. And the most proud shall stumble and fall. That's Esau. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, and none shall rise him up. So Lahab, or Elder Lahab, he was on Fopi's show a couple of months ago, and he was going through, I guess the topic was Gog and Magog wars. And he said that when the kingdom is established, we're going to be having a good old time for 1,000 years, and then Esau is going to plot against us, and he's going to take us down again. And I believe that's why Lahab is not on Fopi's show anymore. Although Lahab said a lot of good things, he went off on that one. Lahab was one of the seven, so you can know. And he has a channel called Blaze Judah on YouTube. Anyway, it says, but he's going off. That's one of the seven. We, oh, we only believe in the seven. Well, guess what? That's one of the seven. He said Edomites can make it. Oh, one, what is it? One in Yahushua, whatever it's called, one body in Yahushua. They said, we got to start teaching the other nations. If they want to learn, we got to let them in. We got to open the doors to them. That was coming out of Bishop Jessup's mouth to show you that the Most High is not dealing with them. He has a zeal for the Most High, but not according to knowledge. I mean, the only thing you teach the Edomites is what? Is that they're going into captivity. You can show them things in the scriptures, but ultimately, what do they need to know? Get ready for captivity. So Jeremiah 50, verse 32. And the most proud shall stumble. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rocks, and fall, and none shall rise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. And what is that fire? It said, I shall kindle a fire in his cities. Because Babylon the Great, it consists of what? Cities, but it is a major city. And it shall devour all round about him. It's going to destroy the whole land. Isaiah 13. The whole land will be destroyed. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, Yahweh, the sons of Israel and the sons of Judah will press together. Now you got this thing where, oh, all the 12 tribes are so-called black. I mean, that's bullshit. Because when Cristobal Colon, and we went through this many times, came over to the New World, who did he encounter? He encountered what he called the Indians, the indigenous people. Those were Israelites. There's a book, there's a couple of books, Lost Tribes in the Promised Land. Well, also James Adair, History of the Indian, American Indian, or whatever it's called. I got the book right in front of me, where he traded with them and lived amongst them, and he said they were speaking Hebrew. Their civil rights, their moral customs, their war strategies, their burial rights were the same things that the Israelites in Palestine practice. And he even recorded, he said that when they say fire, they say ash. The Hebrew word for fire is ash. They called on Yohewa, which was a bastardized way of saying Yahweh. Instead of Yo, it should be Yah. Hey, it should be Ha. Yohewa, it should be Yahweh, not Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. So they're definitely the people of Israel. Gad, they encountered the Gadites, and a lot of the tribes, they had fringes and border blue on their garments. The Reubenites, they had turbans on their head. What do you call it? Michis, we call it. Martazanpath, which are turbans. Those people are the Israelites, man. They're not heathen. And where did they come from? These guys will tell you that. Where did these people come from? And they knew to come over here because Solomon had a navy, and was it that? What's the name of it? Something I can't remember. Ebon Giza, something like that. I can't think of the name. My mind fails me on that. Somebody can put in the strict the comment section. But anyway, Esau has records on when Esau started coming over here for trade, when they encountered these people. Oh, when Columbus, Cristobal Colon came over there, he got that individual. I believe his name was Torres. I can look it up. And it said this man spoke 5 languages. He spoke Spanish or Latin, you can call it. Spanish, Latin is pretty much the same thing. He spoke Aramaic, Arabic, Hebrew, and there was another language that he spoke. So they knew that the people that they were going to encounter spoke the Hebrew tongue. So they did know that the tribes went over here. Even Christopher Colon was reading out the Apocrypha because he was a crypto Jew. And he mentioned it in the Apocrypha. If you read the Apocrypha said that there's going to be Israelites is going to come on the other side of the world. Asarath, which is Hebrew for another land. And that's a fulfillment of Deuteronomy chapter 29. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get that. Bear with me for a minute. Let me get that for a minute. I'm kind of all over the place, but I believe it's 29. Could it be there? Let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, here it is. It's right in front of me. 28 verse 29 verse 28. Start at start at 20, 25. You can read the whole chapter. Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord, their power of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, Mizraim. That's an actual word for you Christians out there. Let's prove that. It's just for you Christians. The word is tazar, yum. 26 verse, for they went and served other gods, and ultimately that's what Jake did. That's why they kept going into captivity. And so they became, in essence, the heathens and worshiped them, gods whom they knew not and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against this land to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And when you go to Deuteronomy 20, the 28th chapter, it's talking about various times, various captivities that you went. It's not talking about, well, oh, that's the fulfillment of the Assyrian captivity. No, it's the Assyrian captivity. It's captivity under the Moabites, under King Mesha. It was the Babylonians, the Greeks, and so forth, the Medo-Persians, and so forth. Those were the curses. But then we received a little bit of a blessing with the Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire. It says the 28 verses what I wanted. Deuteronomy 29 verse 28, and Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger. So the Most High ultimately rooted all of Israel out of their land. Give me a second. That out of the way. Anyway, it says, and the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation. But how do you do that? Through the other nations. It was first the Assyrians, which, by the way, the Babylonians are nothing but Assyrians. They're not Cushites. High priest Ariel used to say, oh, they were Cushites, going back to Nimrod because he was a Cushite. It was the Assyrian people, the Assyrian race, whatever you want to call them. It says, and the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation. It was first done to the northern kingdom, then to the southern kingdom. That's why it says in the Apocrypha, then the peaceable, was it the peaceable nation, the gathering of the peaceable ones, and then they shall come, meaning the other Judah, Benjamin, Levi shall come in the form of slavery and cast them into what? Another land as it is this day. As it is this very day, Monday, August 1st, 2022 year, Yahweh Shai turning up. It says another land. So now let's look up the word, and I went through this before. Let's look up this. Let's go to another land. And a lot of these so-called these small hat historians, they'll say that's talking about America. Okay, this day. Aha, aha, aratiza. Aha, achar, aratiza. Asarath, Asarath. That's how they say it. So Asareth means another land. That's in the Hebrew, but it's like a bastardized Hebrew. Let me do this real quick. You brothers that's been in this thing, you veteran, you know this. You don't even gotta watch this. You know this like the back of your hand. This is for some of the newer cats. Almost like a back to okay, let me do this. Okay, boom. This is what I wanted. Okay, right here, it says another land. Doesn't it say in the Hebrew? We read that in Deuteronomy 29:28, right? But I'm looking for, bear me for a minute. This is the proof right here. This, when you read 2 Kings 17, you got to immediately come to this one. Trying to find a word. Let me try it this way. Bear me for a minute. Bear me for a minute. Then where the hell is it? Bear me for a minute. I should have had, I didn't know I was going to go into this. Let me try it this way. Let me try it this way. Bear me for a minute, please. Okay, exploring the legend of the 10 tribes. All right, Second Ezra, the Carib Indians of Dominica and their rumored cannibalism. Let me try this one. And that's the word there, which is another land. That's what that means, another land. And I did videos on this in the past, exploring the legend of the 10 tribes throughout. Where the hell is the goddamn? The legend of the 12. Now you notice I typed in second Ezra 13 and 40, right? So what is it giving you? The legend of the 10 lost tribes. So these small heads know about exiled from the northern kingdom during the reign of Assyrian king Shalmaneser V is ancient. According to the narrative, the exiled Israelites were trapped behind the mysterious Sambashan River, which uh, which rages with rapids. Yeah, because the Most High calmed the storm through up in sandstone 6 days a week, and blah blah blah. When Jews were not allowed to travel, this is what I hate. While it was regarded as merely a myth for many years, appearing in several written and oral versions, something striking occurred in the year 880 CE, which is AD, Common Era, that left an imprint on Jewish consciousness for centuries. So they discovered that the Israelites came to the Americas to come one day. Small, very dark-skinned Jew named Eldad showed up in the Jewish community. It says a dark skin. Could he have been black? Modern Tunisia claiming descendant from the tribe of Dan, and one of the 10 tribes. He related fascinating accounts of the life and customs of this majority of the Jewish people that had disappeared. You're talking about the 10 tribes. Of particular interest was the knowledge he claimed to have of early religious law and the archaic Hebrew that he spoke. Archaic Hebrew meaning the ancient Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash as we call it. So from this point onward, the existence of the 10 lost tribes, was regarded as a fact. And that was in the year 880 CE or AD, as something whose validity could be tested in reality. Where do the lost tribes reside? Not all of them. It says in that very chapter in the book of Ezra, and then they shall come, perhaps in Central Asia or Equatorial Africa. No, they went on the other side of the world. Or as according to the hypothesis raised after discovery of the New World, Columbus, maybe in the Americas, so that, and it was the Americas. So those people in North, Central, and South America, Indian, was it Indian, which they're all Indians, which means indigenous. All the Indians of North, Central, and South. We're talking about Canada. You had Gad all up in Canada. You had Gad and Reuben in America, the USA, Central America. You had the so-called Latin tribes, which were Indians, indigenous. But they practiced the way of the heathens. It says maybe and they eventually lost the Hebrew. I went down to Mexico City, and there's a park called Chapultepec Park, and you have these ancient pyramids and they're not written in Spanish. They're written in almost like a mixture of Egyptian hieroglyphs and ancient Hebrew. So it's obvious, and these goes back, these pyramids, and we went to the Great Pyramid. This is before Columbus came to the New World. So they obviously were speaking, they were not speaking English. They were not speaking Spanish. They were speaking another language. Maybe in the Americas, maybe, no, it is in America, so that the tribes are actually Native Americans. This is with the small hats. Aharats means the earth. Tribes are actually Native Americans. There are numerous hypotheses, fictions, and hair-raising adventures associated with research and travelers who sought to reach these people, whether for anthropological, anthro meaning the study of man, pelagical study of man, anthro meaning man, religious or customs of these different people, religious or emotional reasons. Why do you think the Mormons say that these people over here in Americas are from the descendants from Israel? During the story of the 10 tribe, the 10 lost tribes, as a myth, as often and misleadingly understood as an assertion that, right, you assert something in there, like a IUIC. They assert that Friday, sundown, no, all of them, Friday sundown and Saturday sundown is the biblical Sabbath, because they asserted that in there. They got it from the small hats. That any attempts to identify the tribes will, by definition, not succeed, because the story is, after all, an imaginary rather than a factual, historical, or anthropological one. But that is not why this story is one of the greatest myths of Jewish cultures. So the small hats know that the people, so they would have to say that the Indians are people. We're not just saying it, rather, its significance results from the fact that it illuminates some dark corners of Jewish consciousness. Because, like I said, remember, they really think that they're the people. They ain't the people. And they know it. The elite know that. So they got to keep the lie going by setting up the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League. You're defaming the people, the people of God. Well, no, we're the people of God. That's our claim. Creates a narrative of support going into the gates of the noble. Encouragement when Jewish communities in the diaspora, there was a great diaspora, and part of the diaspora started with the what? The 10 tribes, the Northern Kingdom. What they come to, they came all the way over here to America, not to Africa, not to Africa. Have faced tough situations and unequivocally through narrative technique expresses a profoundly important point that has accompanied Jewish history since its inception. And if the small hats go far enough, they do enough digging, and they did that. They know that the people that came out of Egypt were so-called black people, people of color. The nature of the diaspora and the minority Jewish community attempt to confront Muslim or Christian majority. Let me read a little bit more. I'll say carried over the waters. That's from Second Kings 17 and Second Ezra 13 and 40. Carried over the waters. As far as we know, the oldest source that refers to the myth is the fourth book of Ezra, which we call the second book of Ezra, from the Jewish Apocrypha, written shortly after the destruction of the second temple in Jerusalem toward the end of the first century. Remember, first Ezra, second Ezra, and for that matter, third Ezra and fourth Ezra, that was written before. That's a fulfillment of prophecy. Because Ezra wasn't in the Americas, but he spoke about how the 10 tribes are going to come to the Americas. Then they shall come. That's the rest of the tribes. And when you start from the first verse, what vision does he see? He sees our Lord coming back with the angels. Really, he sees the Lord, but it also represents the angels behind him. And the ship so big that it looked like a mountain. And it started shooting lasers on the enemy and coming down and delivering the people of Israel. The saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. It said this tradition interprets one of the central visions described in second right as a vision. It didn't happen in Ezra's time. And this also proves that the small has followed the Apocrypha. Second Ezra 13, verse 40 to 48, King James Version. Those were the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, which that's our Lord's name, Hawashai. The word there is Hawashai. Joshua is Yahawashai. King Hosea, meaning deliverer, the king, whom Shalmaneser the fifth, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land, and that other land, they carried themselves into this other land. But they took this counsel. No, I'm sorry, they were still in that land. I'm sorry, they were still in that land. That carried away them, then took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, the other nations, because the Most High is not dealing with other nations. Folk have them alone. The only way you're going to make it is if you're an Israelite, and go forth into a further country. That's the Americas. That's the uttermost part, the other end of the earth. And it said that the disciples will be teaching on the other side of the earth, because the Israelites are on this side of the earth and scattered throughout the whole earth, where never mankind dwelt. That's America, because Solomon had his navy that go back and forth and take spices and gold and so forth. Brazil is a Hebrew word, barazal, and Sakari discovered that. Esau called this place Brazil because there was a lot of iron. The Hebrew word for iron is barazal, which is Brazil. That they might there keep the statues, which they didn't, which they never kept in their own land. That's in the Americas. That's why you see Gadite with fringes. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over for through that country. And country consists of waters, bodies of waters, and bodies of lands, right? And I lost my place. And through that country, there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Asarath, which is what? Which is Hebrew for another land. Deuteronomy 29, verse 28. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found written within my borders. That's us. That's the kingdom of Judah. So let me take this word here, if I can get it. Okay, what I got to do is let me do it this way. Aras. Well, that's the best that I say a way of saying it in actual Hebrew, which actually means in the Hebrew, translated into the English, it means another land. Deuteronomy 29, verse 28. Okay, so let's pull out of this. You know what? Let's do this. Since we're here, let's do this. This is beautiful. That's why you got to read from the first verse. Right here, all the way down, it's talking about when the Lord comes back, and it mentions the angels, but in Revelation and other books, Daniel, how this place is going to be taken down by fire. And the Lord's going to come back and deliver his elect. So this is beautiful, man, because what Esau is doing our heavy work too, because they'll send their historians and their archaeologists and their experts, and they'll dig up things to confirm that, oh yeah, there was an actual guy named David. He was a king of Israel. Oh yes, there was actual people of Israel, and they know that they were people of color. They're super elite at Esau, and the Apostle Kabbalah says this: in order for you to keep a lie going, you have to know the truth. You can't lie and say this and that and the third if you don't know the truth, because they found out you were lying. That means you were privy to the truth. And that's what Esau is. Esau is living under a big lie. And his lie is being exposed. That's why we're a threat, a spiritual threat, not a physical threat, a spiritual threat to this man on a spiritual level. And they know that. It's a matter of time before this whole truth comes out. And this is beautiful. What is Zechariah 5 says? This curse shall go upon the whole earth, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. America is the house of the thief, and anywhere Edomites dwell, everything that they got, they stole. Okay, Lamentation. I'll give you a couple more. You know what Lamentation 4 verse 21 says? It's our time. It's Esau's time to be destroyed. It's our time to be delivered. Lamentation 4 verse 21 and 22. Jeremiah. Let's go back to Jeremiah real quick. Let's go. Judah and Israel would oppress together. Anyway, anytime you go in the hood, you see Jake. You go down a couple of blocks, you'll see the Issacharites. You go down another couple of blocks, 5 blocks down, you see Ephraimites. Then you see Simeonites. And then you see Simeonites that are mingled with the Ephraimites. And Jake mingled with Ephraim and Simeon. There's a lot of people I know that their families, that the father could be Simeon and the mother could be Jake, or the mother could be Simeon and the father could be Jake or Ephraim. You got a lot of brothers that are married to the so-called dealing with the Latin tribes. So this is beautiful, man. And this right here, Jeremiah 50, is referring to what we're going through right now on this side of the earth. The Redeemer is strong, our Lord, the host of hosts is his name, meaning armies. His number one army right now that he's going to use is those missiles. That's his number one, that's his mechanized army. Name, he shall thoroughly plead their cause, plead meaning bring judgment against them, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon, which is America. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, which is America. The sword is a nuclear sword, a nuclear missile, ICBM, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon. This is the daughter of Babylon, and upon her princes, her leaders, and upon her wise men. So you got to keep your eyes on Pelosi in China. And because it's scheduled for her to land in Taiwan Tuesday. So we're going to see what's going to happen, because the Chinese, they got to keep their word. They said, look, if she lands there, we're going first of all, they said, we're going to shoot her out the sky. So if she actually lands in this, and the media's there and she does speeches and you can see that she's there, it's going to make China look bad. China does not want to look bad, because that's the third world power. You got America, world power. You got Russia, world powers, 2 world powers. Then you got China, which is the third world power, which works side by side, allies with Russia, part of the BRICS nations. So there's definitely a split in this system, man. And this devil, this Edomite, he's losing his power. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, which are the military, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, their power, and upon their chariots, cars, planes, trains, automobiles, tanks, and upon all the mingled people, because America is a great melting pot, right? Ancient Babylon was no great melting pot. America is a great melting pot. Rome, ancient Rome, was a great melting pot, a metropolis, mother city, that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. They're gonna bitch up. That's what that means. They're gonna bitch up. What's happening right now? You can look it up. I'm not gonna go to it. You have articles where American men they're not joining the military. Because why? Because there's wars, rumors of wars, tensions in the air. You don't join the military because you want to fight somebody. You want to be Rambo. You join the military for benefits and getting paid, and you make it a career. But it always happens like that. When there's wars and there's rumors of wars, men do not join the military because they're not going over there to get put to death. They're going over there for the benefits, to go to college. They can pay for their college and so forth and so on. So you playing with fire when you join any of the branches of the military. It says a sword, the missiles, is upon her treasures that she stole, and they shall be what? They shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images. Because they don't worship the Most High. Do they honor the Sabbath? At one time, they called themselves honoring the Sabbath with a thing called the Blue Laws, where everything had to be shot. I remember as a child, on a Sunday, you better buy what you're going to buy on a Saturday or on a Friday. You better shop on a Friday or a Saturday, because Sunday, you're going to be home watching religious television. In New York, it was Channel 9. And Channel 9, for the whole day, it was different Edomites preaching. You had Jimmy Swaggart, Rex Humbard, all these different guys. I remember that. For the whole day into the night, for that Sunday, was religious programming in the new tri-state area on Channel 9. That's before cable. All right? You couldn't go to a mom and pop store down the street. You couldn't go to, and you didn't have supermarkets. The first supermarkets came about. You had the A&P, which represented Atlantic and Pacific, which they're no longer here. And you had Pathmark. Those are the two first major, that was before Stop and Shop and LDs and all these other places, man. But everything was closed down. I believe was a movies club, but everything pretty much was closed down because they were calling themselves honoring their Sabbath, which is on a Sunday. Sabbath comes in on based upon a new moon, IUIC. They dried us upon the waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images. This is the land of graven images. They got a TV show called American Idol. Hollywood creates idols for you. Michael Jackson was an idol, moving idol. Prince was an idol. They look at these people as gods. You know, LeBron James, MJ, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. I remember Dr. J. Dr. J, Julius Irving, he was a man. He was a man. Everybody wanted to be him. And they are mad upon their what? They are mad upon their idols. They love their idols. They need a hero. I'll read a couple more verses. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, because this place is going to become a desert, as we know. And it shall be no more inhabitant forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And the Most High overthrew Sodom, as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Read about the history of Sodom and Gomorrah. How is that taken down? By nuclear fire. So this place, Babylon, is going to be taken down by nuclear fire. And the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. And that's talking about over there in Russia. It's going to all start from Russia. Russia is going to be the lead person, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Chief prince in the Hebrew is Russia. That's the word Russia. Now you got Isaiah 34. I always go into that. You got 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 3. Lord shall come as a thief in the night, but not to us. You got 2 Peter 3. You can start at the 10th verse, read down into the 12th verse. It says, seeing that all these things shall come to pass, the destruction, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversations. In other words, you're supposed to be pushing this truth. The number one things that we're supposed to be pushing is this end time prophecies. And one of them is the charagma, and then the missiles, then the wars. We're at the end of this thing. I'll be surprised if we go to 2024. They're talking about, well, by 2030, we're going to have the G6 set up. I don't see no damn 2030 coming about. If there is going to be a 2030, it's going to be in the kingdom, but it's going to be a whole new calendar. Everything's going to be in order. And that's when this man is in captivity. Revelation 18:1. That's another, I love that chapter because to me it's like the closing credits of this man's system. The whole chapter is dedicated to the destruction of this place. And John, the Apostle John saw a lot of things. He saw the charagma. He saw people line up and take the charagma, especially these Christians, because these Christians don't know the scriptures. How many of you, especially the black church, that's the biggest joke going. How many black churches that you know go into end time prophecy? They don't even go into prophecies. They don't touch prophecy. They don't deal with anything in Daniel, Daniel 8, Daniel 11, Daniel 7, Daniel 2. They don't deal with Ezekiel. They don't deal with Isaiah 34, Isaiah 13. They don't deal with Jeremiah. They don't understand what the Babylonians is all about. They don't understand nothing. They don't understand prophecy. So guess what? Every last one of you so-called Negroes that are part of, like Geno Jennings. Geno Jennings does. He's a blowhard, man. He's a you know what I mean. He fill up with a lot of wind. He does a lot of talking and acting, but he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on. And he knows about Israelites because every time he talks is about, the Israelites said this. They said, I'm supposed to have a beard on your face, which you are supposed to have a beard on your face. But I ain't going to have no beard on my face. Can you eat pork? Yeah. At one time, he said the white Jesus was not, that's not the Christ. He's not white. So we would say, okay, if he's not white, he had to be black, a man of color, right? Then he said, oh, Jesus is not a black man. We don't know what he looked like because he's an insider. He's an insider, okay? And he wouldn't dare have a sit down and have a debate with the Israelites because he'll get washed. Or Isaiah 21, that goes hand in hand with Revelation 18. Revelation 17, Jeremiah 49, starting from verse 7, Isaiah 33, verses 1. It speaks about how they're going to be a change of world. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we're in that time, man. We're definitely in that time. You know, when you go to Ezekiel 38, I didn't mention that, Ezekiel 39, when they clean up the bodies. Second Ezra's 15, the whole chapter, but mainly from the 27th verse, it goes into the so-called Arab nations, the Ishmaelites, the Persians, the original Elamites, that they're going to join forces with what is that? The BRICS nations. There was two nations that want to join the BRICS nations, and one of them is Iran, which are the Carmanians in Second Ezra chapter 15. Or second, I'm sorry, could it be Second Ezra's? Yes, Second Ezra chapter 15. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 27. For now all the plagues come upon the whole earth. And that's what's happening with these wars. These are major nations that's getting involved, that's, you know, at the brink of war. China against China against the US. Could that happen? We'll find out tomorrow. Everybody keep your eyes on the news. First thing I'm gonna do when I wake up before the birds start chirping any damn way. There's gonna be breaking news. Whether China does something or doesn't do anything, does it attack or doesn't attack, whether they shoot down the plane or they attack Taiwan, because the talk is that the Chinese are looking to, just as the Russians are doing to Ukraine, the Chinese are looking to do that to Taiwan. They're going to send troops in. And the reason why there's such an interest is because of the technology that comes out of there. Those nations, they make these cell phones and smartphones and so forth and computers, and they deal with chips. Because America makes damn near nothing. So that's the interest. As if for now all the plagues come upon the whole earth. We're into that time. Everybody's, you have a food shortages around the world. You got inflation around the world. If you can find the food, it's gonna be sky high. As if for now all the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. Right. What happened at the end of 2019, going into 2020? You thought, oh, okay, we'll deal with 2020, and then it'll go away. Then 2021, we're still doing it now. Here it is, 2022. From 19 to 2020, from 2019 to 2022, now you got a new thing: monkeypox, food shortages, supply issues, floods. What's happening in Kentucky? A bunch of people died, and that's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple of years for Kentucky to come get back online, so to speak. 27 verse. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth. Everybody's feeling it. Anything that's happened over there in Europe is going to come over here. Anything's happened over there in wherever you're catching hell is coming over here to America. Lockdowns happen in China. I think somebody said they're locking down again. Well, guess what? They're going to lock down. They plan on locking down over here. And the people know it's all bullshit. A lot of people don't believe it, man. Yet a lot of people took the jump shot, family members that took it, some that didn't took it, and others that took it. And who's going back and forth into the hospital and dropping dead? The ones that took it. Now remember, keep in mind, General Yohana, the mighty commanding General Yohana, said, go ahead and take it. So when these guys start dropping dead, they're going to be looking at Johanna like, why'd you tell us to take it? First thing we said is don't take it. It said, for now, 27 verse again, for now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. So this is 3 years in. For the Most High shall not deliver you because ye have sinned against him. Only ones that's going to be delivered is the elect. Behold, in horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, Arabia just means mixed. So you have Ishmaelites, you got Midianites, you got all these ites, and they're mixed. They're mixed. It says, shall come out with many chariots, which are the tanks and the fighter jets and whatever weapons they have, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians. When you look up the word Carmanians, those are the Persians. All you got to do is look it up. Put in the word. Go to Google and put in Carmania or Carmanians. It'll direct you to the people of Iran, which are the Persians. Raging in wrath shall go forth and they're going to be backed up by Russia. Ezekiel 38. As the wild boars of the woods, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, the other Arab nations, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. That's America. They're gonna hit them with a couple of missiles. The main missiles are gonna come from Russia and possibly China, because the Most High is gonna cause them to spill all of those missiles. That's the function of the missiles. So if China has missiles, which they do, it's going to be shot at America, whether they press the button or not. The Most High is going to press the button. He's going to initiate. Remember, these missiles, the ICBMs, the what do you call it? The super, what do they call it? The supersonic missiles or whatever. These supersonic missiles that can't be detected on radar. That's the Most High's. That's the Most High's mechanized military. That's his host. The Lord is Sabaoth in James chapter 5. The Lord is Sabaoth means the Lord of armies. And one of his armies is in Joel 2. There are the missiles. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, who? The Western world. Then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings, their rulers. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. They shall smite one upon another. That's that third war, the war of Armageddon, the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh's judgment, Yahweh Shaphat meaning judgment, Joel 3. Hell, Joel 2, Joel 3. And they shall smite down a great multitude of the stars upon the earth, even their own stars, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung of men unto the camel's hoofs. Now that makes me think of Revelation 14. Blood shall be to the horse's bridle, and there shall be great fearful and trembling upon earth, because it's going to get worse. It's that the old saying is it's going to get worse before it gets better. Well, guess what? It's going to get worse before it gets worse. It's going to get worse before it gets worse. This is what we're supposed to be focusing on. Get our houses in order, keep the law, statutes, and commandments, walk the straight and narrow, be on the highways and the byways. The fields are white, ready to be harvested or picked. Read Luke 10, 1, 2, and 3. We need laborers in the field. The field is the whole world. What did Vocab Malone say? He said the number one fastest group growing in America, which is around the world, are the Israelites. And he was right on that. So he has to try to fight against it, but that burden is on his back. Because them other guys around him, they ain't pushing like he's pushing. He pushing hard, man. That whole thing is on his back. And it's stressful, man. But the more you push, the more we're gonna push. And it's one of you against millions of us. That's your words. You said there was about 12 million so-called black people, Negroes, that identify with Israelism. So in essence, you're trying to, it's one of you that's trying to fight against almost 13 million people, and it's growing. The largest, fastest growing group, because meaning it's still growing. They haven't stopped growing. It's still growing. Ezekiel chapter 37. That's why I did a breakdown on that, because I love that chapter, and it says a whole lot, and it leads you to a bunch of different precepts. And it all ties in. If you're in Ezekiel 37, you got to go to Revelation 18, you got to go to Revelation 11, you got to go to Isaiah. It all comes together in a synergistic manner. It says, and there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and them fear of those things coming upon the earth. Luke 21. Trembling shall come upon them. So what we're reading now, what precepts you should be thinking about, all the precepts that I mentioned, the prophetic precepts, plus Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13. And then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. And strong winds shall arise from the east, and winds also represent destruction. The great wind, and hold back the winds in Revelation 7 is talking about this destruction, the hot wind. That's somewhere in Jeremiah. I'm not going to go to it. Let me see. Let me try this. Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a minute. And get ready to close. Let me try this. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Come back over here. I'll find it. Okay, here it is. Destroying wind. First verse. Okay, this is what I wanted. Jeremiah 51, verse 1. There's another beautiful chapter. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will rise up against Babylon, America, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, the people that dwell in this country. That's why we have to be delivered. That rise up against me, a what? A destroying wind. And will send unto Babylon fanners. when you get a fire going, you set the fire up, and you get a fanner and you fan it so the fire can build up. That shall fan her and shall, I was just saying Isaiah 14, the besom of destruction. When you take a broom and you sweep the dust, you see the dust go up in the air, but it goes in one direction that you want it in, so you can put it in the dustpan, right? So guess what? The broom is the missiles, are the missiles. And the debris that you sweep it in the dustpan is the destruction of Babylon the Great. It's going to be swept into the great dustpan on high, and it's going to be put in the garbage can. It says, and will send unto her fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. The Chinese, the Middle Eastern nations, the Persians, the Russians, their allies, the EU nations, the NATO nations, against him. And the U.S., this administration is a complete joke, man. It's a complete joke. And this guy better not die, because if not Pelosi, well, she's next. If you got the president, and then you got the vice president, and then next after her, you got Pelosi, which she'll be the next president. So the second in order the presidency is Kamala Harris. If they put her in, these good old boys, they're gonna tear this country up. They're gonna tear this country up, man. They ain't gonna listen to no black woman. They damn sure ain't gonna listen to no black. When they had a problem, when Obama became president, that was the first president they started calling him the Antichrist. Oh, that's the Antichrist. That's the devil. Out of all them presidents, he comes on the scene and he made mockery of him, showing you the true feelings of this man. And they'll quick to call you a racist. See, these black Hebrew Israelites, they're a bunch of racists. What the fuck you think you are? Again, the Most High is a racist against you devils, you red devils. Against him that bendeth, let the archer, the archer bend his bow. The bow is a silo, modern day bow, and against him that lifteth him up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. They shall not regard children, women, none of that. Isaiah 13. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. So let's keep our eyes on what's going to happen with that trip to Taiwan by Pelosi. Let's see what the Chinese are going to do. Because as of yesterday, it was up in the air whether she was going to, like I said, she's in the far east right now. So her next stop, which is scheduled for tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, is Taiwan. And everybody's going to see what's going to happen. Their eyes are going to be on Pelosi. They ain't going to be thinking about Biden. They ain't going to be thinking about Kamala Harris. They're going to be thinking about Pelosi and the Chinese. Every eye, especially if you're a prophetic-minded person, you're going to be watching the news. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.